welcome back to the Deep Dive. If you're thinking about an EV, or maybe you already own one, well, you know what we're talking about today. We are tackling that single most valuable component, the one that causes all the excitement, but also, let's be honest, a lot of the worry. The battery. For years, the big blocker, the thing everyone talked about was battery anxiety.
Right, that fear.
Yeah, this idea that you're buying this, I don't know, giant smartphone on wheels, basically. Super expensive.
And that it's going to degrade just like your phone battery.
Yeah.
Get worse and worse until it's almost useless.
Exactly. That the core value, the battery itself, is just destined to fade away quickly, is the heart of the car, but also the source of so much dread.
Well, that anxiety, it's often based on older information, maybe some myths that have stuck around. So our mission today is really to cut through that noise. We're going to look at what the hard numbers, the latest data actually tell us. We've pulled together findings from some really large-scale real-world studies. There's market analysis from Kvdbil, a Swedish car broker, looking at actual used cars.
Real cars, not lab tests.
Precisely. And then there's some fascinating science coming out of Stanford University and the SLAC National Accelerator Lab. So we're basically giving you the shortcut today. The truth about how these modern EV batteries are really holding up after years on the road.
And maybe some surprises about what helps them last.
Oh, definitely. Including the surprising fact that how you drive every day might actually be helping, not hurting.
Okay, let's unpack this. So where do we start? The hard evidence seems like the place. You mentioned Kvdbil.
Yeah, let's start there because the data they gathered is frankly pretty reassuring. It really pushes back against that old narrative of rapid decline. This wasn't a simulation. They looked at 1,366 actual vehicles driving around Sweden, 723 fully electric, 643 plug-in hybrids.
Okay, so decent sample size. What did they find?
Get this. 8 out of 10 of those vehicles, that's 80%, still had over 90% of their original battery capacity left.
80% kept over 90% capacity.
Yeah.
After several years on the road.
Exactly. Even after years of use, tens of thousands of kilometers. That 90% figure, that's the key metric.
Wow. Okay, so what's the term they use for that? Is it state of health?
That's the one, state of health, or SOH. It's really simple, just the percentage of the battery's original energy capacity it can still hold. So if your car shows, say, 92% SOH, it means the battery is performing 92% as well as it did on day one.
Right.
And this big study confirms that for most people, that sudden dramatic drop-off in battery life just isn't happening.
That's huge. Were there any specific models that stood out, like battery champions?
Yeah, they did highlight some leaders. The Kia EV6 actually came out on top, showing the least degradation overall in their sample.
Interesting. A Kia.
Yeah, and it wasn't just the super high-end brands performing well. They saw great results from the Kia e-Niro 2, the Audi Q4 e-tron, Tesla's Model Y, even the Opel Mach-E.
So good battery life isn't just for the luxury tier anymore.
Not at all. It shows solid engineering is pretty widespread now. The baseline seems quite high across the board.
Okay, so the real-world report card looks surprisingly good. Much better than feared.
Overwhelmingly positive, I'd say. But that leads to a really interesting question, doesn't it?
Which is?
If the old predictions, maybe based on earlier tech or lab tests, expected faster decline, why are real-world batteries doing so much better? What were those initial tests missing?
Okay. And that brings us to the Stanford and SLIC research.
Exactly. That's our second key source. And their big finding basically blows up a major assumption about battery testing.
Which assumption is that?
That traditional lab tests are the best way to predict lifespan. Stanford and SLAC found those tests are actually too pessimistic because they don't mimic reality well enough.
How so? What's wrong with the lab tests?
Well, think about how they work. They typically age batteries using these very clean, very steady, constant discharge and recharge cycles. It's predictable, controlled,
And completely unlike real driving.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Your actual driving is dynamic, right? You speed up, you slow down, you brake, sometimes using regen braking, which is like a mini charge.
You sit in traffic.
You sit in traffic. And maybe most importantly, your car spends way more time parked just resting than it does actively driving.
Okay. And that matters. The resting part.
It seems to matter a lot. That whole varied pattern, the dynamic driving, the braking, and especially those long rest periods, turns out to be actively good for the battery's internal chemistry.
Wait, hang on. So the stop-start, the varied pace, the sitting parked, that's helping the battery.
That's what the science is suggesting.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting.
Doesn't it? Because the implication from this Stanford study is huge. They estimate that because of these real-world patterns, consumer EV batteries might actually last up to 40% longer than those older projections based on standard lab tests.
40% longer. That's
Yeah.
massive. That completely changes the calculation.
It really does. It suggests the industry's own standard tests were maybe missing a huge piece of the puzzle.
So all those years, people were told, drive gently, accelerate smoothly to save the battery.
Yeah.
The reality is that my normal, sometimes jerky commute might have actually been better for it.
It sounds counterintuitive, I know. But one of the researchers, Simona Honori, basically said that real driving patterns with all the acceleration and braking seemed to help batteries last longer than they expected.
How? What's the mechanism?
It seems that the rapid little charges during regen braking and the demands of acceleration help keep the lithium ions distributed more evenly within the battery structure. It prevents them from getting sort of stuck, which can happen with very slow, steady use or long periods at full or empty.
Okay, that makes some sense. But what about flooring it? Everyone knows that mashing the accelerator kills your battery, right?
Well, that was the other big myth they busted. The data actually correlated those sharp, short bursts of power, like flooring it with slower degradation.
Slower, not faster. How on earth does that work?
It's likely down to where in the battery's charge level you're operating. When you accelerate hard, the car system pulls power aggressively, yes, but often from the middle range of the battery's capacity, say, between 30% and 70% state of charge.
The middle range, why did that matter?
Because that middle zone is chemically the most stable part for the battery. It's the least stressful place for it to be. You're not pushing it to the extremes, fully charged or nearly empty, which is where more stress and degradation tend to happen.
So flooring, it might use more energy now, but it's drawing that energy from the battery's comfort zone, so to speak.
That seems to be the idea. You're using power quickly, but in the sweet spot. It helps us understand a key distinction, too. There's cycle aging, which is wear from charging and discharging.
We're using it.
And then there's time-induced aging, or calendar aging, the wear that happens just because time is passing, regardless of use.
Okay.
And for most consumer EVs, which, let's face it, are parked most of the time.
Yeah, like 95% of the time for many people.
Exactly. For those cars, that time-induced aging is actually the dominant factor, more so than the wear from driving cycles. Your dynamic driving isn't the big bad wolf we thought it was.
This is fascinating. It really shifts the perspective.
It does. And it leads us to think about what really influences how long your specific battery lasts. If the tech itself is this robust, what makes the difference between car A and car B?
Okay, so what is it then?
Well, the test manager back at Kvdbil, the Swedish study, made a really telling comment. He said that state of health, the SOH, doesn't seem to depend so much on the specific manufacturer.
Not the brand.
Not primarily, no, but it depends much more on how the car is used, the climate it lives in, and especially the owner's charging habits.
So it comes back to the owner, to you, the driver.
Absolutely. It underscores that your personal habits, the way you treat the battery, probably matter more than the badge on the front of the car. You are the biggest variable.
Okay, this is the empowering part then. If the batteries are built well and driving normally isn't hurting them like we thought, what can you, the listener, actually do to maximize that lifespan even further?
That's the crucial question, and the research points to some clear, practical steps.
So let's give people the golden rules for battery care based on this data. Rule number 1.
Rule 1, avoid charging to 100% every single day.
Okay, why not? Isn't full? Full.
It is, but consistently pushing the battery to that absolute 100% state of charge uses higher voltages internally. Over time, that extra stress can accelerate wear on the battery chemistry.
So for just normal daily driving, commuting, errands, what's the target?
Aim for about 80%. Charge it up to 80% for your routine use. Only push it to 100% when you genuinely need that maximum range, like for a long road trip.
Makes sense. Less stress day to day. But wait, isn't there an exception? Something about LFP batteries.
Yes. Crucial point. If your car specifically uses LFP, that's lithium iron phosphate chemistry, the advice is different.
How so?
With LFP, you actually should charge it to 100% fairly regularly, maybe once a week or so.
Why the difference? Is LFP less durable?
No, actually, LFT is known for being very durable, but the reason for the 100% charge is more about calibration. The car's battery management system needs that full charge point to accurately estimate the remaining range. If you only charge LFP to 80%, it can sometimes get a bit lost, and your range display might become less accurate.
Okay, so know your battery chemistry. For most common types, 80% daily is the goal. For LFP, hit 100% regularly for calibration. Got it. Rule 2.
Rule 2. Limit your use of DC fast charging.
The superchargers, the ones you find on the highway.
Exactly. They are fantastic and absolutely necessary for long trips, but they pump energy in very quickly, and that generates a lot more heat inside the battery pack compared to slower charging.
And heat is bad for batteries, right?
The heat is basically battery kryptonite. It's the #1 enemy of long-term chemical stability. So the advice is, use fast chargers when you need them on the road, but for your regular day-to-day charging at home or work.
Stick to the slower AC charging, like overnight.
Precisely. Slower AC charging is much gentler, keeps the temperature down, and minimizes stress on the battery components. Think of fast charging as a sprint and AC charging as a marathon piece.
Okay. Gentle daily charging. Makes sense. And rule 3.
Rule 3. Try to avoid parking in extreme temperatures for long periods.
So this isn't about driving, but about where the car sits.
Yeah. Leaving the car parked for hours and hours in blazing summer sun or in deep freezing conditions can also stress the battery chemistry.
So if you can, park in a garage, or at least find a shady spot in the summer.
Exactly. It's about mitigating those extremes. If you live in a place with very hot summers or very cold winters, just being mindful of where you park can make a noticeable difference to long-term health.
So pretty simple adjustments, really. Charge to 80% daily usually, prefer slow charging at home, and park smart in extreme weather.
That's the core of it. And those simple habits can significantly extend the life of what is, let's face it, the most expensive single part of the car.
Okay, let's pull this all together then. What's the ultimate takeaway for someone listening right now, maybe still feeling that battery anxiety?
I think there are 3 main things to remember.
Go for it.
1. The real-world data is genuinely reassuring. Remember that Kvdbil study? 8 out of 10 EVs keeping over 90% capacity after years. The fear of rapid failure just isn't matching reality for most modern EVs.
Okay. Good news first.
2, your normal dynamic driving, the stop-start, the acceleration, even the long periods parked is actually good for the battery, or at least certainly not as harmful as those old pessimistic lab tests suggested. It might even help it last longer.
Right. Driving like a normal person is okay.
Totally okay. And 3, you have significant control. Your charging habits and how you treat the car in extreme weather matter a lot, probably more than the brand name.
So you're in the driver's seat, literally and figuratively.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean? Big picture.
Well, I think it means the challenge has fundamentally changed. For years, the big hurdle was technical. Could we even build an EV battery that would last long enough?
And the answer seems to be yes.
The data strongly suggests yes. They are robust. They are lasting much longer than many predicted. The engineering hurdle for basic durability seems to have been largely cleared.
So if the tech is there, what's the problem now?
The real barrier now, I believe, is perception. It's communication. That old battery anxiety narrative is sticky, even though the data has moved on.
People haven't caught up with the reality.
Pretty much. Think about it this way. What if people understood that their modern EV battery was engineered to be as fundamentally durable and reliable as, I don't know, say, a classic bulletproof vintage Honda Accord?
The benchmark for reliability.
Exactly. If that level of trust existed for EV batteries, based on the actual performance data we're seeing, would battery anxiety even be a thing anymore? Adoption fears would likely plummet.
So the industry's job now isn't just building better batteries, but convincing people that the batteries they already build are great.
That's a huge part of it. It's about building trust in the technology's proven longevity. The hurdle isn't just engineering anymore, it's psychology and communication.
Thank you so much for joining us today and really digging into the reality of EV batteries. It's genuinely reassuring to see the data dismantling some of those long-held fears. And for everyone listening who's found this deep dive helpful, please do make sure you follow the channel, subscribe to the deep dive. That way you'll never miss another shortcut to being this well-informed. We really appreciate you tuning in. Until next time.